All right, so you've got some RSUs from your employer. RSUs are a nice acronym for restricted stock units. And what that means is you basically have some of your compensation tied to these things. It's kind of a really just a sweetener if you think about it that way. It's like, hey, employee, I'm going to have these RSUs invest. You're going to get your normal salary and 401k match and all that other stuff along the way. But we're going to give you some stock options too over the next 3, 4, usually it's 5 year mark, I see roughly, before these things fully invest. So you got to be loyal to us to get these. And again, it's kind of just a sweetener to get you to stay there too. These are from every scenario I've ever dealt with on these. Really, they're wonderful to have. It's a great bonus and option too. It's a great retainer to keep for for folks too to stick around for that year mark. Make sure you get them, obviously, and you provide some continuity for for yourself and your employer by doing this too as well. Now, again, usually there's a vesting period on these things, so you are granted them right away. They may not vest right away. You may have to start, you may start seeing a portion of them invest at year 1, 2, 3, 4, and usually the whole thing is done by 5. Now, these are part of your salary and compensation, so when they do vest, they are taxable at that time. It's like a phantom tax, really. So they will add on to your taxes that year that they invest. Just FY out there for everyone. This is usually what you can do to offset that is typically max out your traditional pre-tax 401k through your employer as well. That does help a little bit as these things become vested. Now, once you're granted that company stock, what do you do with it, right? Sure, you can go blow it essentially if you want to. If you want to build wealth and proper planning, typically what you want to do is get those things transferred into your brokerage account, at which point you can then diversify out and away from your employer. Because remember, you're already invested in your employer in a lot of ways. These RSUs, your check every 2 weeks comes from your employer. Your 401k is sponsored through there essentially too as well. Just your healthcare is through your employer. Your all those benefits, a little bit of life insurance sometimes, etc. So that is pretty much the biggest reason why you want to take any RSUs, stock options you get, immediately, sell those off, diversify away from your employer, go into broad-based index funds or sector ETFs, essentially, from there, because you don't want to sit too heavily. Say you were to get terminated or laid off for whatever reason too. Great. Now you have no salary. Your RSUs are in that company, which may or may not be performing well, and your health benefits and everything else, 401k match are all through the company. So we want to get that out in the way typically. Now, again, usually, to get these RSUs, wonderful. You can just let them sit for 5 years. You can let them sit for a very, very long time, but you do pay taxes in the year they vest. So be prepared for that. But the best way to do this is to take them as they vest, diversify out into something else. Again, broad index funds or ETFs, essentially. Best way to go here. But RSUs are a wonderful tool to have. And I've seen these things, a couple horror stories on them too, where people sat in the company stock and the company stock swaying lower essentially too, and that really delayed their retirement. So that's, again, why you don't want to get too emotional, too tied to the company you work for on these things. Take them. It's part of your compensation anyways, and then diversify out of them. It's a wonderful way for you to stick around for a few years too. Now, if you leave earlier than the full vesting schedule, take that into consideration when you are shopping other offers or receiving other job offers too as well. You may be leaving a significant amount of RSUs on the table if you didn't finish your year 4 and your year 5 of the vesting schedule, essentially. So 20, 30, 40, 50 grand. You can ask HR, the new company, to up your offer, but you can be granted additional RSUs there. There are plenty of negotiation tactics on that at that point. But that's RSUs in a very small nutshell. Make sure you speak to someone who understands these things too as well.